G'day viewers, it's Lord Reagan with you once again, the Royal Colonial Boy in beautiful Upper Thunder Valley. It's a nice winter's day in July 2015 and we're going to record the 15-minute poem. It's the shortened version of the Royal Colonial Boy by yours truly. It's an autobiographical account of my life for my grandson Hunter, a dedication also to my son Daniel and my daughter Jessica Claire. And if you want to see the 30-minute version, which is the full 50-year account of my life, you can go to the website which you see under the microphone here. That's theroyalcolonialboy.com. So the reason we've done this is simply because I do believe I've got an interesting yarn to tell, a bit of a ripper yarn in fact, and there's so many elements. Rather than write a book, I just thought I'd put the words to the old tune, The Wild Colonial Boy, because after all, that was a pretty crappy story. Fancy glorifying and paying homage to a cop-killing fugitive thief called Jack Doolan or Jack Duggan. They're not even sure who the bastard was back in the 1860s. Anyway, it was a good thing that my ancestor, Constable Fitzroy, shot that bastard dead, because if he was on the loose these days, we'd all be petrified. We'd be calling the police for help. We'd be worried because this guy was a serial killer. Anyway, the story's about me this time. It's called The Royal Colonial Boy. I'm a clean skin, going way back to the early 1800s. No criminals except a couple of convicts who came out from the county Waterford in Ireland. James McGravy and his wife Margaret Tynan. All they did though was just steal some baby clothes for their daughter Mary Ann McGravy, who was born in 1815, and that's when they came out from Ireland. 1815, they settled in Botany Bay first, 1815, 1816, then they stole some more baby clothes, silly bastards, and then they got really punished further, sent up to the Hunter Valley, Newcastle, and they mingled around Maitland for about 50 years. So my ancestors go back to 1815, 1818 in the Hunter Valley. So we're coming up for our 200th anniversary, our bicentenary family reunion, and we'll probably do something at the East Maitland RSL Club. Now then, back to the poem. This poem is going to go for 15 minutes, so if you like it, great. If you don't, too bad. It's called The Royal Colonial Boy. Read by Lord Reagan, the actual Royal Colonial Boy. There was a Royal Colonial Boy, Lord Reagan was his name, 7th great-grandson of King Charles and Countess Castlemaine. He was a young policeman's son, Mum Barbara's pride and joy. Their age gap very nearly killed their Royal Colonial Boy. His father was just 21, his mother 36. They separated 7 years until at last divorced. Barbara struggled, Kev left the force, French oil clerk Cuba Petey. No pension then, Barb was needy with her Royal Colonial Boy. Named after Barbara Villiers Palmer, England's uncrowned queen, Lord Reig's mum wanted a farmer. They slept in squats unseen. Barbara could be quite a charmer, swam up at Narrabeen. Seduction ensured nobody harmed her, Royal Colonial Boy. Barb's dad was Lord Stanhope Sullivan, born in the USA. His clan fled California. An earthquake ended their stay. They moved to upmarket Vaucluse. Stan met a Maitland girl. Amy Claire White was grandmother to the Royal Colonial Boy. Now, the First World War killed the Sullivans. One Captain Amory, the second was Thomas Barry. John Sidney returned safely. So did Lord Stanhope Augustus. Charles Lamont's death made 3. 3 uncles, 2 grandfathers of the Royal Colonial Boy. Thanks to Sydney Club City Tats for raising all those funds, enough to build a new brick house for Charles Lamont's widow. Maud and her 8 kids thought it grouse. Anzac Rifle Range helped. Ride Council is also thanked by the Royal Colonial Boy. 12 generations down the line from Mary Queen of Scots, 33 to Alfred the Great, no crown jewels or gold-filled pots. Lord Reag's long-forgotten estate, Lord Stanhope's Elvaston. Help me save it, Sir Richard pleads, the Royal Colonial Boy. The Seaforth Highlander Charles Lamont, Sydney father of 8. Queen Victoria's Palace Guard taught Anzacs to shoot straight. Oldest Lone Pine Major died hard, yelled, "Follow me, boys, charge!" His 8th child was grandmother to the Royal Colonial Boy. When Mary Ann McGravy Brunker met William White of Scone, remarried a blunder, she couldn't live alone. Newcastle Race Club Thunder, horse racing pioneers, were second great-grandparents to the Royal Colonial Boy. At Richmond High, this larrikin youth chose writing over beer. His typewriter knew no danger, no subject did he fear. Supporting himself by year 12, 6 weekend jobs you hear, lived alone in a caravan, did the Royal Colonial Boy. Wanted to be the next David Frost, wrote Greyhound Racing News, high school magazine editor, Monty Python amused. Discovered he's related to Grafton's first Duke Fitzroy, Barbara Villiers, King Charles II, the Royal Colonial Boy. Richmond neighbours greyhound trainers, Jimmy Christine Coleman, Jim a Queensland boxing champ, Christina model blonde. Walked their champions after school, odious he's some boy. Unguilla lad and General Jeff was the Royal Colonial Boy. Lord Reag's Uncle George rescued dogs, legendary Quick-Stitch thrived. He smashed Lithgow's track record, won Harold Park aged 5. Faster than Zoomtop at Gosford, he flies on grass and sand. Old George thanked his kennel hand, the Royal Colonial Boy. Father's Day morning, 20 his age, Euroa Times front page. Sydney bound, he was out of luck, a victim of road rage. His car flipped to avoid a truck, rolled 6 times, centre stage. The roadside priest gave last rites to the Royal Colonial Boy. He interviewed 20 heads of state, Nelson Mandela, Tung Chi Wah, Whitlam, Keating, Howard and Hawke, Clinton, Bush, Greiner and Carr. He ran for council and parliament too, Aussie Democrats ploy. Keeping the bastards honest was the Royal Colonial Boy. He tracked down his mum in Melbourne town when he was 24. Lady Barb was tiny and frail, search for the Holy Grail. All's forgiven, Mum, let's not part, let's make a brand new start. Barb declined with gratitude to her Royal Colonial Boy. In winter 1986, he thought he'd found the one. He met a Uruguayan girl, had a daughter and a son. An award-winning journalist, wife, kids his pride and joy, built a 6-bedroom Hurstville home, the Royal Colonial Boy. Married Meta in Drummoyne St Mark's, tame bucks night cracking jokes. Friend Wallaby Steve James folks, Auntie Joan and Uncle John, reception at their 5-dock home, Reag's adopted them both. The love of his life was now his wife, the Royal Colonial Boy. He saw Mum again in 94, showed pics of wife and kids. Barbara was over the moon. Congratulations, son, you have a lovely family. I'm thrilled, but I'm happy here. I'm fine, enjoy your life, she told her Royal Colonial Boy. When Grandmother Nana Noeline died, Lord Reag's de facto mum, their love spanned more than 30 years, 2 decades breeding hounds. Second husband, Uncle George, treated Reags like his son, called him Little Lord Fauntleroy, the Royal Colonial Boy. When wife Meta filed for divorce, they'd had 20 good years. Lord Reag was taken by surprise, no fault on either side. She bought a flat across the street. Kids chose to live with Mum. Her team of lawyers did destroy the Royal Colonial Boy. Barb passed on in 2004. Nobody told Reag she died. Found out 10 years later, a tsunami, he cried. She deserved a life loved greater, copped prejudice all her life. A gracious royal, let's fate her, said her Royal Colonial Boy. Battling depression later in life, 10 years without a wife, car accident, bad prognosis, hemochromatosis, fatty liver, too much iron, back pain, wintertime, optimistic despite it all, is the Royal Colonial Boy. Retiring up a Thunder Valley as the world's best value tipster. Weekend race tips free on Twitter, Lord Colonial Boy. Join him playing fantasy flutters. Free fun, no gambling nutters. Australia's horse capital's now home to the Royal Colonial Boy. Grandson Hunter was born at St. George. Jessica Clare wed Joe. They got married on Valentine's Day at Banjo Patterson's home. A happy day. Hip hip hooray. Master Hunter's a page boy. Joe Williamson's now son-in-law to the Royal Colonial Boy. In 214, Lord Reagan found out his mum was royalty. He never got to meet her folks, the Whites and Sullivans. Stanhope, Augustus Sullivan, full descendant of King Charles. This explains his purple blood to the Royal Colonial Boy. Now, Reag's lost a few battles and won a few wars, of this we can be sure. From Hard Knocks University, he embraced adversity. His values, facta non verba, with resilient fervour. To survive this life, just sink or swim, like the Royal Colonial Boy. And our time's up. That was the Royal Colonial Boy, the 15-minute version as read by the Royal Colonial Boy, Lord Reagan, otherwise known as award-winning New South Wales journalist Regan John Murphy. If you want to see the words, just go to the website, theroyalcolonialboy.com, and for more information, you can send an email to the Royal Colonial Boy, and that email address, as you may have guessed, is simply royalcolonialboy@yahoo.com.au. Thank you so much for listening or watching. It's been a pleasure reciting that for you.